But let's bring on board the management of Bikaji Foods. They reported their numbers. They managed to see a decent growth this time in quarter 1. But what is the trend in terms of volume growth of the company going forward? What are the margin expectations? Let's bring on board Manoj Verma, CEO at the company, as well as Rishabh Jain, the CFO at Bikaji Foods, joining in with us. A very good morning, gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining in with us. I want to start with you, Manoj sir. I want to talk about the demand trends. Now, yes, urban, surely, and metro cities have been seeing a good demand trend for the last few quarters. But how is tier 2, tier 3 city performance coming in there? And do you think now for FY25, this 20% growth rate which you have been managing in the last couple of quarters, that's something that will be sustainable in FY25?
Thank you very much for inviting us on this channel. Talking about the category movement, if we look at, so there's an uptick in the growth for this category. Last year, a couple of quarters were not so bright, but later it started picking up. This quarter has been really good for us, and I think results speak louder than what I'll talk about. If I talk about this quarter, I think this quarter is a story of two halves, right? So half of the quarter was under so much of heat wave, which everyone would have read and heard about, kind of stuff, which really brought down, would have impacted category consumption. So still, this quarter went off well for us, and overall, if we look at for category for industry, has been really good. Uh, there is a upward movement in the rural sector as well. So talking about tier class or town class, so while urban has done well, the good news is that even rural has started moving up.
Right, and Rishabh, the volume growth has been at about 15 to 16% over the last couple of years. What's the outlook for FY25?
So our target is to grow a volume growth 30 to 15%. That's the target what we're taking on. This year we are also looking at some price rise. Look here, despite as commodities prices are going up. So we're targeting 13 to 15% volume growth. Price growth will be 2 to 4% depending on commodity prices. But yeah, that's the target what we're taking as a company.
Manoj, you've managed to sustain the margins above 13% level for the last couple of quarters. Tell me what's aiding the same, and could we expect these levels to continue throughout the year?
So margins is in terms of, we have a threshold number, right? So beyond that, whatever is manageable within company, try to build efficiencies, trade schemes, some spends in the market. But if it will go beyond, I think that's the time that maybe we'll have to pass it to the consumer. Also, this is again a very strategic and tactical mix of both move, wherein we look at the competition, how's that competition behaving, and tactical in terms of we try and see that the product mix, how that we can play around with this. So, but the last thing is that it goes to the consumer. As Rishabh rightly said, that what we expect, and in our budgeting process, we have budgeted about 2 to 3% of price increase. So that's part of our now plans, what we have already incorporated.
Okay, all right. And Manoj, the company has also been focusing a lot more in terms of the category development efforts, especially in the core states. Can you share details in terms of your market share in segments? What is your internal target that you're keeping for FY25, FY26?
So incidentally, the shares what we get and what we actually can track is just the snacktionary, and then snacktionary you can further break it to traditional and Western snacks. Sweets you don't get. I mean, there's no authentic data or any agency who would give market shares on sweets, papad, or other namki, the other frozen and the other subcategories. So traditional and Western snacks is what is reported. What we are looking at it is that year on year at a national level, we intend to gain one share. That's what it is. We want to hold our shares in our core market and drive further. And focus markets are the one wherein currently we are at around 2%, less than 2% market share. So over next 3 to 5 years is what we want to cross 5% market share. That's what is the aspiration we want.
Okay, and Manoj, Western snacks, do you think that that could potentially be a driver for growth for the company?
See, for us, it's a very small share of business. So if you look at it, it's about 8% plus. That's the contribution of Western snacks to our business. Still, if we look going forward, Western snacks will be growing by far higher than the traditional snacks, and therefore, this contribution would go to say about 11% in say next 2 years kind of a time. So it's not actually a growth driver, but certainly will be a support in terms of our growth as well.
Rishabh, what is the outlook when it comes to raw material prices going forward?
So we have entered a festive season, right? So Rakhi is next month in Diwali. So we see a little bit of a price in edible oil also, but yeah, overall we are seeing good increase in pulses, wheat, chana, potato prices, or dry fruit like kaju. So we're seeing good increase in prices. In next 3 to 4 months, till the fresh crop comes in, we see a good increase in prices, and that's what we are preparing for.
Okay, and lastly, just Manoj, how has Bikaji's product packaging mix, that has shifted with impulse purchases versus family pack options that are there in the recent years? Are you seeing any noticeable change in a shift between any of these packaging, and what is the strategy that you have?
See, strategy is you make it one time and then you keep implementing, and need be you tweak those strategy. So our strategy is two-pronged. One, for small pack, it's a game of distribution, and for large pack, it's a game of building or building your brand equity, enhancing it further. So it goes to house for a larger group of consumption. That's where it is. If we look at even in this quarter, our growth in the family pack has been by far higher than the impulse category. And how the hypothesis what we have within us or within ourselves is that because of long summer days and also perhaps people were not out on the ground kind of a stuff, and therefore the on the go consumption perhaps was low, and at least for our we as Bikaji, but our family packs did extremely well, and that made it up for the volume growth, what we're talking about of 18.5% in snacks in quarter one. So our strategy again to summarize, we are building, doing a lot of initiatives, marketing investment to build our family pack business. And for small pack, it is our S&D, sales and distribution role, which is what we are expanding. So even in this quarter, our sales team has added about 20,000 outlets in our direct coverage. That's the efforts they've made.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining in and giving us an overall view on what the outlook is for Bikaji Foods, as well as what the growth projections are.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.